Welcome to the Labyrinth. I'm your host, Pratham Pado. My guest today is Amit Lakhani. He is a men's rights activist. He is the president of Men Welfare Trust and he's also a member of Save Family Foundation. And as always, if you find this podcast useful, do like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Also, leave your valuable comments below. And I want to thank all my subscribers for helping me cross 8,000 subscribers. Thank you. Mr. Amit Lakhani, welcome to the Labyrinth. Uh, let's start with the recent marital rape PIL. The issue, as far as I know, is that Section 375 of IPC, which covers the rape law in this country, gives an exception to marriage and marital rape. Now, this new PIL challenges that exception and wants it to be removed. What is your stance on this issue?
Pratham, we had an intervention in this ongoing PIL. The PIL actually is not ongoing; it's over now. The judgment has come. So we were interveners here, and there were some NGOs from the petitioner side who were, like you rightly said, that they wanted to remove this exception from IPC 375, and uh, uh, and in a way, it was. Marketed in a way that this exception means a license to rape. This exception means that husbands are misusing this, and left, right, and center, every other house there are husbands who are raping their wives. That kind of narrative was being built up, and some fudged up data and some judgments from other countries were being quoted when we entered this entire PIL. And our position was very balanced, though. We believe that this problem, this offense, we don't say that this offense does not exist. We say that globally, whichever all those countries are addressing this issue under spousal sexual violence or partner violence or intimate partner violence or sexual assault. Never they use a word rape, when it comes to offenses within a marriage. And there are a number of reasons to it. We'll come to the reasons later. So we said that spousal sexual violence can happen to a man and woman both, because it is more about consent. And there are times we've seen so many cases where husband does not have a consent, husband does not have a will, but either he's giving consent under coercion or some kind of pressure. Spousal sexual violence can happen to a husband and wife both. When it happens to a wife in India, uh, it's not that legislature has not given any recourse to the wife. It is not that the legislature is blinded themselves to this issue. It is not that the wife cannot go anywhere and file a complaint. There is a framework of law. There is not just one law. There is a framework of law where, forget forcible sex, even if the husband tries to forcibly, strongly hold the arm of the wife or mishandle her, or there is any sort of cruelty, the wife can simply go to a Mahila Thana or a CAW cell or a woman's cell, and she can file a complaint under 498A, which covers all sorts of cruelty, also includes sexual violence as well, which has a sentence of 3 years. Then there is Domestic Violence Act, which is specially legislated to protect women from the Domestic Violence Act. Again, the man cannot use Domestic Violence Act. The woman can go and file a complaint under Domestic Violence Act, where she can get a protection order. By protection order, in a layman terms, I would say that if she says that my husband is not should not come to this room, or should not enter this house, or should not enter this locality, and the court gives that order, then the husband will not be allowed to enter that particular area. Also, she can get those restraining orders. She can get a free medical aid. She can get free legal aid. She can get monetary relief, and she can get protection, and all sorts of protections are available, which normally in a rape case the rape victims also get. They are all available in the Domestic Violence Act also. And violation of protection order can put the man behind bars for at least 1 year. Then after that, there is 377. IPC 377 talks about unnatural acts. So, and this is a very common phenomena these days in the matrimonial disputes where wife, when they file complaints of harassment, they add 377, which talks about unnatural sex, which has a sentence of 10 years to life imprisonment. Then there is section 376B, wherein a wife can file a case against a husband when they are separated. And by separated means when she announces that today I'm separating from you, even if they are staying in the same house and she says that I'm separated now, I'm withdrawing my consent from you, and there is a violation, then the husband can be tried under 376B. So that's the position that we've taken there. That in fact, the other countries which they were talking about, all those countries have gender neutral laws. All those countries protect men, women, all genders equally. In fact, our constitution in Article 14 talks about equality before law. Article 14 talks about equality irrespective of gender. Equality for every person, every citizen. So when the laws are made, they are made gender specific, and the problems, the crime that is happening against a specific gender, that is man, that is completely ignored when the laws are legislated. So that's the primary position that we've taken, Pratham. And we'll go further. I will explain you in detail, what were the arguments which were coming from the other side. You can go ahead with this, with what you want to ask.
So the advocates on the other side, that is I believe Advocate Karuna Nandi and Advocate Colin Gonsalves, they are arguing that this exception to married couples itself violate Article 14. They're saying why is there a separate law for married couples and unmarried couples? But when I look at your side, it's like a lot of advantage can be taken because these are not gender neutral laws. Even after 5 years, a wife can say he raped me. If this marital rape exception is removed from 375, what could be the consequences on the man?
Pratham, the argument that is coming from that side is that you are discriminating different class of women. You're discriminating between a unmarried woman and a married woman. And the counter that we've given also in the court is that there are so many laws which are based on, the which actually classifies uh, genders, which are based on marital relationship. There are laws like, for example, harboring the deserter husband, where wife is given exception, that the wife cannot be tried in that particular law. There are age-based exception in IPC, wherein a boy or a girl, a child below the age of 7 cannot be tried in IPC. So that does not mean that if there is an exception, then you're giving somebody a license to commit that offense. So you're giving somebody a license to do that crime. So in fact, our counter argument is that if you actually talk about Article 14, then it is a violation against the fundamental rights of men, because men, the crime exists and the crime is happening against men, and men are not protected. They are the only women who are affected. Today we talk about LGBTQ and so many other genders. So except women, nobody is protected under under the rape laws. Whereas in other countries, rape laws are gender neutral. They protect everybody. There are so many cases where women have been tried and even convicted for raping boys, for raping men. So that's about the Article 14 argument that happened there. And now about the consequences of law if it comes in the present form. See, because they say that so many countries have marital rape law. What they don't tell you is that their marital rape law or the spousal sexual violence law is not like 375. They're actually comparing apples and oranges. They, our IPC 375, the rape laws after this recent amendment after the Nirbhaya case, the way they were, amended, they've been very, very stringently amended, and now a rape case can be filed. There is no limitation period. Somebody can file a rape case after 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. A woman can just go ahead and say that, 5 years back, this happened with me, or, 10 years back, this happened to me. So now, if this is applicable to a married relationship, if this is applicable to husband, the wife can, after 20 years, if there's a dispute, can say that on the first night, he violated me. I had my consent was not there, or I gave this consent under coercion, under some kind of pressure, and she can give this statement after 20 years, and there will be a rape case against the husband after 20 years. Other countries, the countries that they are talking about, there is a limitation period. For example, Nepal had this law where the wife can only file a case of sexual violence within 30 days. They were giving examples of Nepal. In fact, when the law was made in Nepal, the sentence was only 6 months. So other countries, we've studied the law of so many other countries. There is a limitation period of somewhere it is 6 months, somewhere it is 1 year. In no country it is like 20 years later you go and you say that that particular night my consent was not there and the husband is. So they're actually saying that other countries have this law, but what they're not saying is that they have riders there. In other countries, the perjury laws are so stringent that if somebody is found to file a false case, there are very, very stringent punishment for the person who's filed the false case. Here in India, false cases are filed like, you order a pizza, you just go on a testimony of false cases file, the accused is put behind bars, the cases go for years together. There is no investigation process. The police does not follow the forensic evidences. They do not take. So only on the testimony a man can be convicted. So there are other countries where there is provision of pardon, where the offense can be compounded if the husband and wife come to a terms that there was some misunderstanding and the wife wants to withdraw and they want to lead a life together again. There is a provision wherein there is a provision of pardon. They can go for a therapy. The case will be compounded and they can just go on. In India, once there is a tag of a rapist, the man is completely destroyed. Once it is said that he's an accused of rape, even before courts decide anything, the society convince the man socially. He's taken away from he's thrown away from his job. Nobody gives job to a person who's had a rape FIR against him. His career is completely destroyed. If this law comes into picture the way they are asking, the child will be immediately taken away from the father. The child will be deprived of the love and affection of the father on a mere testimony. So all these custody battles which happens between wife and husband when there is a disputed marriage, or instead of those custody matters, she'll probably file a marital rape case and the child will be taken away immediately from that person. The person will be arrested immediately, because in rape cases there is an immediate arrest. There is no such guidelines which is there in 498A and other offences wherein there is mediation and all that. So these are heinous offences wherein husband would be immediately put behind bars, and there will be years of trial, and for a very long time the husband will be behind bars. Why I'm saying this is because in rape cases we see that until there is in the evidences stage is over, the person is not given bail in most of the cases. So I've seen people spending years together, and then there is a trial, and after the trial, if it is proved that the case was false, he was falsely implicated, there is no redressal. There is no uh, stringent punishment within the act. The woman who's filed a false case. So basically, the man would be destroyed completely, and not just the man. There is a section which talks about gang rape. So whoever is party to that rape is also faces the person faces the trial, and the name is there in the FIR. They were all party to that act of crime. So now what we see in 498A and the marital disputes these days is that a wife, if she wants to satisfy her vengeance, she wants to settle score, she files a false dowry harassment case and she tries to rope in all family members, the parents of the husband, the sister, the jija, the distant relatives, all of them are roped in. So what happens is that if this act comes to picture, the marital rape act, the way they are asking for, if the wife says that my sister-in-law locked the door from outside and I could not run away when I was being raped, my mother-in-law added something to the tea, or she spiked my drink and I became unconscious, or my father-in-law was watching from the window. I mean, all sorts of absurd allegations that we see in the marital disputes, if they become part of the marital rape complaints, then the entire family can be roped in a marital rape case, in a rape FIR. And how rape uh, cases are dealt with, and there are arrests immediately, and the entire family will be behind bars, and all of this situation is very likely to be misused as a weapon to cash in from a failed relationship, misused to extort money out of a failed marriage, misused to harass people, misused to settle scores. So in other countries, there are riders to curb this misuse. In India, we have a history of misuse of 498 and other gender-based laws, but we are talking of a new law here, and we are designing it in a way which will become a weapon of misuse in the times to come.
Yeah, this lack of time limitation to me sounds absolutely crazy, that a woman can file a rape case against a man even 20 years later. I mean, how would they even find evidence? And that's one thing. And the second thing is, there are these laws, many of these, like Section 375 or Section 498. The burden of proof is always on the men. He has to prove that he is innocent. He is guilty until proven innocent. And 4 to 5 years, he can get harassed. He can lose his job, his kids. He can lose most of his wealth. These laws sound very unjust towards men, but on the other side there is all these gang rape, genuine gang rapes that's happening. Could be the Nirbhaya case in Delhi. So we are seeing two extremes. How do we draw a balance in between, where we can find justice for genuine rape victims, at the same time protect men who are simply being harassed in the name of these laws?
See, even in the PIL, which was going on till some time back, what was happening was that we are talking about very very extreme cases. There is no distinction between a brutal, forcible case of rape and a case wherein there was no consent, or there was no explicit consent, or so there is no distinction. And the same Act 375 they are asking should be applied. Now the 375 does not distinct between different forms of rapes as such. And like in other countries, there are graded offenses. They see the intensity of the crime, and here 375 does not do that. So what they are saying is that 375 as it is should be applied on the marriage relationship. And when 375 was enacted, it was enacted keeping in mind that the offense is happening outside marriage. They never thought that the offense would, this act is being enacted for a married relationship or for a marital rape kind of a case. And why I say this is, I'll just give you an example. In IPC 375, there's a definition of an act, that such and such and such act, penetration and all of that. They have given that, and there are some situations which are given. When the consent, when they talk about the consent is given when the victim is under intoxication, it won't be a consent. When she is under coercion, it won't be a consent. When there is a misconception of fact, it is not going to be a consent. Now, imagine that the whole thing is applied in a married relationship. What happens is that if a wife and husband, they go out to a party and they both consume alcohol, which is a very common thing these days. Now they come back, and with both of their consent, they have an enjoyable, sexual act. where both of them are wanting to do that. So if the exception is actually removed, this act becomes an act of rape, technically speaking, because any consent which is given when the person is intoxicated is not a consent. So after 10 years, she can say that that particular night when we came back from the party, that consent was under intoxication. I was not in a situation where I could give or not give consent. So that act become an act of a rape. Similarly, if I talk about coercion, now there are so many instances. For example, recently I met a guy and he had recently got married. It was an arranged marriage. And right after the marriage, where there is like expectation from, generally there's an expectation of a sexual act from both partners. Similar expectations this guy also had, and he pursued his wife, and the wife did not allow him to touch her, which he completely honored. He said that I understand what is no means no, and if she doesn't want to have it, not a problem. He completely, regarded that she doesn't want to indulge into a sexual act. But they were legally wedded husband and wife. So sometime later, he again pursued, and she didn't want to do it. So this happened for quite some time, and then he gathered some courage and he shared it with the family. Now what happens is that the the wife's mother comes to their house and she counsels the wife, whether she counsels or whether she pressurizes, and she tells her that it's a marriage relationship. It won't be a healthy relationship if there is no sexual intimacy and all of that, and tomorrow you have to get into a family also. So when the mother of the wife, she pursues the wife, for once she agrees for the sexual act, and they get into a sexual act. Now if imagine if the uh, exception is removed, this is an act of rape, because the wife can simply say that I was under coercion, I was under pressure. Whoever put that pressure is immaterial. She would say that on that particular night I was under pressure, and I never had the will, but I consented. So we are talking of a law which will come with so many absurdities, so many lacunas, that it will just open a Pandora's box, and we will not even know how to handle the situation. And there's so many innocent men who will be destroyed, innocent families would be destroyed, children will be called as a son or a daughter of a rapist, probably, or a product of rape, where if this happens. So uh, we agree that there should be laws which can correct all these anomalies in the societies, all these crimes happening in the society. But there is no society which is crime free society. And when it comes to India, we have enough and more laws. uh, mm, you talk about the rape laws or the laws which are governing all these offenses within marriage.
This exception, of removing this exception for marital or married intercourse, it, like you said, it opens a Pandora's box because it completely neglects uh, the components of marriage itself. Now if two strangers are in a relationship, and if the man rapes a woman, that's one thing. But in a house, when they're living inside their house, how can you prove something like that? And is it too much of states and laws presence over there? Because generally in the past, these things were left to the family or the community itself. Now since the law is interfering, how will the law be even be able to apply themselves there?
See, absolutely. I completely agree that how will this be applied, and how will the offense be? These are the questions which are being raised all over, even in the social media. How will it get proved? How is because the onus of proving that there was consent is on the man. So people are saying, how will we prove? How will the man prove? Are they going to put, some cameras and all of that? So these are all impractical things actually. When there is a law which says that the testimony of the wife throughout, and there are no corroborative evidences, then the testimony itself is good enough to convict the man. And we have so many convictions, we have seen so many examples of convictions in the rape laws where the testimony was good enough to convict man, and we have seen so many wrong convictions happening, especially in the promise to marriage cases. In India, and it is not there anywhere in the world, where two consenting adults, two people who are adults, they decide to get into a consensual act, whether they are in a relationship, whether they are boyfriend and girlfriend, whether they are in a live-in relationship, they consensually decide that okay, we are getting into this, and there's no pressure and all that. And one fine day, the girl goes to a police station and she says that a rape case is filed against the man on the promise of marriage. She claims that there was a promise of marriage, and he eventually did not marry. The first thing is that, even if there is, first thing is that you are not toddlers, you are grown ups. If it is so important for you that sex should happen only if there is marriage, then you might as well wait for the marriage and then get into a consensual sexual act. You are in 2022, and you are getting into a sexual relationship before marriage with a man with a complete consent. And if somehow the marriage, it does not reach to marriage, somehow it breaks off, somehow it does not conclude in a marital relationship, and the girl can simply go and say that I was raped. And there's so many rape cases which are happening. When we talk about these promise of marriage cases to anybody from outside India, or some international media persons, they are surprised. They say that two people, they're consenting with their complete choice, and then if it is not working out, you're calling it rape. It never happens anywhere in the world. Now, if the same thing is applied in a marriage relationship, if the rape law, it comes the way they want it to come, the law that they are calling marital rape, if the wife and husband, they meet after probably a long interval of traveling or whatever, uh, and they want to get into a sexual act, and the wife just say that okay, let's just do it, but promise me that you will take me to a leisure trip abroad this anniversary, or you're going to give me a diamond ring this birthday. And the husband candidly just say yes, okay, I will do it, and then get into a sexual act, and somehow he does not fulfill that promise. Technically that becomes a rape, on a wrong misconception of fact. So we are not looking into the nuances. If you are going to apply the same law, first you correct the absurdities which are there in the present law. 51% of the rape cases which are filed today are promise to marriage cases, where it was a consensual relationship, and it did not work out, and the girl said that it was a rape because eventually the marriage did not happen. These cases, 51%. And other big chunk of the cases are the elopement cases, where very young boys and girls, when they know that their families are not going to consent for their marriages, they run away with consent. And later on, when they are caught, the girls' parents, just for social justification or whatever their reasons are, they just go and file kidnapping and rape cases against the boy. So major chunk of the rape cases are these cases, and these are cases coming out of absurdity which is there in the rape laws. And we are not correcting those absurdities. We are just allowing innocence to get destroyed. We are allowing innocence to go behind bars, and then we are saying that the same law should be now applicable to husband also. So you can well imagine what is going to happen. I mean, we talk, a lot of feminists, they say that India is the rape capital of the world, and so many rapes are happening. They don't say that most of the cases of rape which are happening here, these are promise to marriage, consensual sexual acts. They are not the rape which people imagine when they hear the term rape. And 70s, because on the drop of hat, these cases are being filed. most of these cases, which are about 76% of these rape cases, they are did not result into any kind of conviction, because ultimately when these cases, these false cases go to the court, they go through the trial, they are not proved, and they are not uh, proved to beyond the reasonable doubt, and the guy get acquitted. That is a different story, that this whole trial process and the whole process where the man was put behind bars and his job was taken away, his self-esteem was taken away, there was a media trial, and his whole image gets destroyed, which is more than actually conviction, which is, this whole trial process is actually more painful than actual conviction itself. And later on it is said that the man was innocent and he did not do anything, and nobody actually changes their mind about that person. The media never comes back, and they never do a debate of a person who they have actually maligned when a rape case was filed against him. So these are the loopholes which are there in Indian rape laws, and we are comparing it with the rape laws of other country, and we are saying that so many countries have marital rape laws. We are not saying that all those countries, there are so many checks and balances. The misuse of law is not as rampant, as blatant as it is here in India. There is no promise of marriage kind of rape cases which are happening there. People take responsibility if they if they consensually do a sexual act. So you're comparing it with that country, just misleading and misinforming the people of this country that so many countries have marital rape law. You're not telling that them they don't even use the term rape, they use the term spousal sexual violence or intimate partner violence, and they have these riders there, there is limitation period there, and you are saying that 375 should be completely, and the way it is should be applicable on husband, a law which was never made keeping in mind offense which was happening inside the four rooms of a house of a married couple. So this is the actually domain of the legislature to look into, if at all we need a law to look into the circumstances, the social impact, what kind of society we are, what kind of marriages we are into. There are so many religions, they have special marriage act, they have Muslim marriage act, they have Anand marriage act. There's different marriage acts here in India, and wherein somewhere the marriages are contract, somewhere marriages are sacrosanct. So the entire societal angle has to be seen, the repercussions of such a law, and how it will protect that innocent man should not be jailed, or should his life and liberty should not be curtailed. All this has to be uh, deeply looked into before we actually legislate a law. And that's why we also said in the court that this is a legislative domain. It is not for the court to just remove an exception and say that proudly that now we are also a country which has marital rape law, and without looking into other nuances, without looking into the evidence act and all these parameters and all these details that I've just talked about. You just remove one exception and then you just satisfy yourself that we have a law. So law is being enacted for the entire society, for the generations to come, and the generations to come should not say to us that when a absurd draconian law which was made in a manner, which was being made in a manner uh, that innocence, it will innocence will go behind bar, and it will do more harm than good to the society. So nobody came forward and actually raised an alarm, nobody came forward and actually did something about this. So that's the reason we went to the court, because we thought that if we do not do it, then it will actually create havoc in the society, and the younger generation will actually suffer because of such laws. We've seen this in 498A, we've seen this in other gender based laws, and there is another law which is being enacted, and it is time to actually call it out and call a spade and actually say what is wrong.
Okay, absolutely. And I think you are doing a fantastic job. But I want to ask you, what inspired you to start this journey and become a men's rights activist?
Pratham, actually, if I go back to like say about 12 years back, I had no idea of any sort of men's rights movement happening. Although the movement had started way back in 2005, wherein some people who were going through, matrimonial disputes, and some people who were actually victims of the abuse of law in India, they came together and they started NGOs. They were NGOs started in metros initially in Delhi, Bangalore, Mumbai, all these places in Kolkata, and people started coming in. The people started joining in from all parts of India, and today, Save Indian Family Movement, the movement that I am part of, it's a conglomerate of over 40 NGOs across India, which are selflessly helping men and their family members who are victims of abuse of law. We're also running a helpline which gets about 4 to 5 thousand calls every month from all these people who've been falsely accused, all the people who are suicidal, people who have no voice, basically, on platforms, who have no voice in the judiciary, who have no voice in the lawmaking. So yeah, when I was myself going through a situation where I faced the misuse of law, that's when I got in touch with this wonderful group of people, wonderful group of volunteers, and then I thought that my eyes opened to the realities of the times, and then I thought that let me dedicate a part of my life to helping people and to try to bring about some difference in their life, to try to pursue them to not take any extreme steps in their life if they are going through all these problems, to inspire them to fight back, to inspire them to come out clean and stronger. So it's a long journey now. It's a journey of about 10, 12 years now, and um, this has become a part of my life. And I myself get a lot of solace in helping people, talking to them, people from across India and even overseas. They call up and they discuss their lives. There are people who treat sometimes treat us like their life coach uh, when they're in such a situation. So it's a part of life now, and it's very satisfying to be able to, to in fact get an opportunity where I can help people and bring some changes in their life and touch so many lives at the same time. And of course, this is a long fight. Of course, apart from just counseling these men who are going through some kind of who've been wronged in their relationships or by law, there is a quest to have gender neutral laws, for which uh, we are constantly raising our voice. We are constantly reaching out to the legislature. We are constantly reaching out to the who's who of the lawmakers, and apprising them of the situation, apprising them of what is actually happening on the grassroots. Uh, we have got some success so far, and but yes, this is an ongoing thing, and we think that in today's times we see a lot of innocent men feeling that they don't have a voice. They feel that the policymakers, the lawmakers, they do not feel their pain. The pain has been genderized in India. If there is a pain of a woman, people understand. They understand it as a pain. If a pain of a man, they don't even feel that it's a pain. So we want to raise these issues, and we want to have policies which are gender neutral. We want to have laws which are gender neutral. We want to have a truly equal society, because when people talk about equality in India, they say that there should be specific laws to protect women. There should be more and stronger laws to protect women, or some kind of privileges for women. So people who are talking about equality are actually asking for privileges, and we, the men's rights activists, we are asking for equal laws for everybody. We are saying that crime has no gender, whether a man or a woman. Whoever commits a wrong, whoever is on the wrong side of the law, punish the person. What we are saying is that instead of man and woman, you replace the word to person. Instead of wife and husband, you replace the word to spouse. That's how other countries also, the countries that you say are more gender equal countries, and there is women empowerment and there is equality in those countries, that's how they treat their citizens, as far as laws and policies are concerned. So here we are asking for gender specific policies, and then we want equality. So if there is injustice on one side, you will never have equality. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So our quest has been very balanced. We don't want anything special for men of this country. We just want that their human rights. We just want that their fundamental rights, their right to equality, their right to equal protection by laws, their right of life and liberty and living peacefully with dignity. All these rights should be not taken away from them just because of their gender. Just because they are men, you snatch away these rights from them, saying that men are potential rapists, men are potential criminals. So aadmi ka to chalta hai. They you know since they don't come out and express, does not mean that they don't have pain inside them. So these are the issues that we've been talking about, and we've been grossly sometimes misunderstood and misrepresented also, uh, because of the kind of ecosystem that we have today, which is very woman centric. People are not even ready to listen to the other side. People are not even ready to accept that there should be laws which protect every gender equally. So this has been our long journey. We've been able to you know have some success stories also, but we know that this is a long way to go.
Mm. Yeah. Apart from being the president of Men Welfare Trust, you are also a member of Save Family Foundation, like you mentioned. And I don't know about you, but I'm unmarried, and there are a lot of men who are too depressed, who are too cynical, who are not interested in marriage, who are not interested in starting a family. There is a rise in this kind of pessimism in our society. Why do you think this is the case?
Pratham, we are living in times of social media platforms. We are living in times where if there is something happening in the society which is alarming, then you cannot actually cover it up. You cannot put it under wraps. Gone are the times where people just used to, open their TV screens, and there used to be Doordarshan, and whatever was being shown, people just used to believe it on face value. So, in the last 17, 18 years of men's rights movement, we've actually concentrated a lot on awareness. We want people to be aware. We want, even if somebody wants to get married, fine. They should know what they are getting into. They should know what are the laws governing marriage. In the last few years, we've reached out to college students. We've done gender sensitization programs in colleges, universities. We are very active on the social media platforms. A lot of students are now coming to us for their internship programs, and they are reaching out to us. So there was a time 10 years back where nobody used to people used to actually laugh when we used to talk about men's rights movement, and today youth is actually resonating with this, because they've started to actually realize what are the wrongs which are there in the society, what are the wrongs which are there in the laws of this country. And that's the reason I also get a lot of calls from youngsters, and they express to me that they are really scared of getting into a relationship. They are really scared of marriage. Some of them have actually seen their elder brothers or friends suffering uh, because of no fault of theirs, because suffering because the laws are lopsided. So that kind of trauma they carry, that kind of impression that they carry, which is also right. uh, because if you come to know that you get into a marriage and something goes wrong between the two of you, and in fact we've seen so many cases of adultery where the wife was actually pushed into uh, marriage by their parents when they saw that it's a good family, and the guy is very well settled. the girl is pushed to marriage without her consent. Now she will not go against her own parents who pushed her into marriage. But whatever happens, whatever disagreement happen in the between the two of them, she will not think twice, and even if she gets advice from the lawyers and all these communities, they would be advised that go and file cases and get rid of this marriage. So if somebody knows that I get into a relationship and on a drop of the hat, I can be termed a rapist, or I can be termed as a dowry seeker, or I can be termed as a molester, then and there will be no voice of mine. I'll not be heard in the and there is no law for me. I'll not be heard in the judiciary. The police stations, they have no section wherein I can go and file my register my complaint. So who will get into that kind of a relationship? So with more awareness, youngsters are coming forward, and they are supporting us. In fact, they come to a lot of them, they offer their help to us. They offer to be a volunteer, and I think this is a revolution. I think this is a revolution in the making, and with times, this awareness and this voice will become loud enough that at least the laws would be gender equal, or the lawmakers will start thinking about having laws which are gender neutral, having laws which uh, treats every citizen irrespective of their gender equally, and that will be the equality in true sense, I feel.
And for our audience, for the young men and women watching this, if they want to contribute or volunteer to your movement in any way, where can they go?
We will be really happy, and we um, welcome with open arms all of these people who want to volunteer and help us in whatever way. In fact, I'll tell you, ours is a volunteer based organization. We don't take any monetary help from all these victims who come to us for any help. What we ask them is that, whatever skills you have and a little time, give us. So people come to us. When we organize any program, some people come and do the designing work, graphic work, somebody is doing the website, somebody is doing the write up, somebody is writing the content. So people from all walks of life, from all backgrounds, whether they are most of them are actually victims of abuse, but there are who are not victim of abuse and they want to help us. They come with their skills, and they contribute that way. We have various platforms wherein you can somebody can contact us. Our helpline number is 888 wherein a person can call whether the person wants to take any advice. Then, when people call up, for those who need help and support or some kind of counseling, we hold weekly support group meetings, which are held at about 25 to 30 locations across India, wherein people can actually come and meet our volunteers and discuss their situation, their cases, and they can get free and self-led support. Our website menwelfaretrust.in is there, which has all our contact details. Somebody can contact us through there. Uh, um, menwelfaretrust@gmail.com is our email ID where people can uh, actually get connected us through. We are there on the Twitter at the rate menwelfare. So a lot of people on daily basis contact me personally on the Twitter, on the social media platforms. Somebody wants to volunteer, somebody needs some help, and to the best of our abilities, because we work on very very limited resources. We don't have any funds from the government. We do, unlike so many other NGOs, so many feminist NGOs who get foreign funding, who get funding from the government and all of corporate funding, CSR funding. What we derive, our movement with is passion. We just have passion to help people, and despite of very limited resources, we've been going on for so many years now, and we've been able to help people and achieving what we have. So, so what I was saying was that we are basically passion-driven organization. People from all walks of life, whether they're doctors, engineers, IT guys, artists, all backgrounds and all social. There's a brotherhood, and nobody has any kind of self-interest. They just want to help people. We have about 1,08,000 men committing suicide there is a male suicide which is happening in India. And in fact, people have started calling India as the suicide capital of the world for the sheer numbers of male suicide which are happening. And when we saw the reasons for suicide, one of the biggest reasons, which is about 24%, is the domestic problems, which includes the family problems, all these issues that we've been talking about. So a large number of men are committing suicide because of these issues, and we are not talking about it, and most of them are in the age bracket of 30 to 40 years, which is the time period where a person would actually contribute towards the upliftment of his own country, to the growth of his own country. We talk about making India, and we talk about youth contributing towards the country, and here we have so many men committing, resorting to commit suicide because of these issues, and nobody is talking about these issues. They're not talking about these issues because we feel that we don't feel pain of the man. We take men for granted. In fact, even the political parties take the male vote as granted, and for the female vote bank, they will do all sorts of things. They will make policies. They will, you know, give freebies and announce, all these woman-centric policies and laws and everything to woo the vote bank. But for men, they never think on these lines. They never think that so many men are dying each day by suicide, and these men could have actually contributed towards the GDP of the country, to the growth of this country. So we are actually raising our voice to uh, help men so that they do not reach a stage where they have to give up on their lives. So there is no government helpline for men. There is no government helpline wherein if a man is distressed, suicidal, or going through false cases, falsely accused, or has some matrimonial issues or something like that, there is no helpline from the government side. So that's where we come in. That's where our we see us in the whole gender discourse, and that's the reason we started with the single number helpline 888 wherein people can actually come and talk to us. There is somebody who will hear them out without judging them. There is somebody who the person will feel that I can share things with. So we've been doing all of this now, and there are a lot of things in the pipeline, and let's see where we are able to take this whole thing forward in the times to come.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will put all of these details in the description. The audience can check it as well. So what is the way forward now? We have discussed all of these problems. We know what is happening in the present. We've had some victories, some some losses. People are finally realizing that this men's rights activism is a legitimate movement, not just some joke. And more people are choosing to volunteer. What is the road ahead?
Pratham, I would say that yes, people have been realizing this, and we have a lot of silent supporters also. We have silent supporters within uh, the parliament as well. There have been a lot of parliamentarians who've been talking about laws being misused and parental alienation and all of this. But I would say the road ahead is that common people, if they actually believe in equality in true sense, they should call it out when a man is suffering. They should actually support if a man around them is going through a wrong. They should actually be vocal. And gone are the times where people would just sit at home and then uh, think that change will just happen. You will have to be part of the change now. Youth will have to come out and say that a man can also be harassed, a man also needs equal laws. The true equality means that every citizen should be protected equally in the eyes of law. That's what equality is. And then equality also means equal responsibilities, whether it is a marital relationship or it's a live-in relationship. We talk about the duties of the man, and the duties of the what is expected out of a woman. we never talk about what are their responsibilities. Every relationship comes with some responsibilities, and it is time to share the responsibilities, and then call it a egalitarian society, then call it a truly equal society. We cannot have whether it is a married relationship or any relationship where the entire responsibility is on one person, and one person slogs throughout his life to be the protector and provider of everybody else, and then you say that it's a patriarchal society, and men are controlling everything. Everybody, irrespective of gender, they should come forward, take equal responsibility of the family, of the relationship. We are seeing in the courts that when the marriages are not working out, able bodied educated women, they are they come out, and they, instead of going out and earning and contributing towards the family, they prefer to go and file a false case and take maintenance from the husband when the marriage is not working out. So on the one side, we are talking that we want equality in the society, we want women to be on the equal pedestal. Then why do we not encourage them to actually work for themselves and maintain themselves, and live a dignified life, rather than filing a false case and taking maintenance from the other person? So it's time to actually be rational in your thinking, and throw away the lenses of feminism, because feminism, what we learned in the books, feminism that we, even I, when I was growing up, the meaning of feminism that I've read in the books is not in practice. The feminism in books and the feminism in practice is very different. So in the name of feminism, you talk about equality, but when you see what is being practiced, is not actually equality. So if we are actually looking at an equal society, everybody should actually come forward, take equal responsibilities, ask for equal laws, and that's how we would actually reach a level where we can say that we are an equal society.
Yes, I mean, everything that you just said made a lot of sense. This was a very uh, rational and a very educational conversation. Thank you, Amit, for being on the Labyrinth.
Thank you, Pratham. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I hope people who are listening will actually, this will make sense to them as well, and they will actually resonate to our thoughts. And anybody who wishes to contact me or contact Men Welfare Trust, or Save Indian Family Movement, they are more than welcome for any sorts of queries and any sorts of help that we can offer to them. Thank you so much for having me here, Pratham.